Have you ever fallen asleep and woken up feeling like absolutely no time has passed, yet hours have disappeared from your life? What if I told you that Carl Jung believed this isn't just a quirk of consciousness, but a doorway into the deepest layers of your psyche where time itself becomes meaningless? Today we're diving into Jung's revolutionary understanding of unconscious timelessness during sleep, and why your mind operates in a completely different dimension when you're not awake. Picture this: you close your eyes at midnight and suddenly it's morning. 8 hours have vanished without a trace. No memories, no sense of duration, just an instant leap from darkness to dawn. Most people assume their brain simply shuts down during sleep, like turning off a computer. But Jung discovered something far more fascinating. Your consciousness doesn't disappear during sleep. It transforms into something that exists beyond the boundaries of linear time. This phenomenon reveals one of the most profound aspects of human psychology. While your waking mind desperately clings to schedules, sequences, and the relentless march of minutes, your unconscious mind operates in eternal now. It's not broken or malfunctioning when time disappears during sleep. It's actually returning to its natural state, free from the artificial constraints that govern your daily existence. The foundation of this mystery lies in understanding how your conscious mind creates the illusion of time. During waking hours, your brain constantly processes external stimuli. The movement of shadows across the wall, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the progression of thoughts from one idea to the next. These create what Jung called temporal anchors, reference points that allow your ego to construct a narrative of before and after, cause and effect. But sleep strips away these anchors completely. Your body becomes still, your senses turn inward, and the constant chatter of your conscious mind falls silent. What remains is pure awareness, unbound by the need to organize experience into digestible chunks. This is why even the longest night can feel instantaneous, while the shortest dream can contain lifetimes of meaning. Jung identified this as the unconscious mind's natural operating system. Unlike your ego, which desperately needs structure and sequence to maintain its sense of control, the unconscious communicates through symbols, archetypes, and emotional impressions that exist outside temporal frameworks. A single dream image can carry more wisdom than years of conscious analysis, not because it's compressed, but because it operates in a realm where compression isn't necessary. Consider what happens when you enter deep sleep. Your brain waves shift from the rapid beta frequencies of waking consciousness to the slow, rolling delta waves that characterize the deepest phases of rest. But this isn't just a biological phenomenon. Jung saw this as your psyche returning to its source, reconnecting with layers of awareness that exist before and beyond individual identity. In this state, the boundaries between past, present, and future begin to dissolve. Your unconscious doesn't store memories in chronological order like a filing cabinet. Instead, it holds everything simultaneously in what Jung called a living constellation of meaning. A childhood trauma, a future possibility, and a present concern can all occupy the same psychological space, because the unconscious doesn't recognize their supposed separation in time. This explains why dreams often feel chaotic yet strangely coherent. You might find yourself in your childhood home talking to someone who died years ago about a problem you're currently facing, and somehow it all makes perfect sense. The unconscious isn't creating a random mashup of experiences. It's revealing the timeless connections that exist beneath the surface of your sequential awareness. Jung believed that during sleep, your ego steps aside and allows what he called the self to take center stage. The self represents your deepest, authentic nature, the core of who you are beyond roles, identities, and social conditioning. This aspect of your being doesn't need time to exist because it simply is. It doesn't become or develop or change in the way your ego does. It exists in a state of eternal presence. When the self becomes active during sleep, it begins processing unresolved emotional material, integrating new experiences, and making connections that your conscious mind couldn't perceive. This work doesn't happen gradually over hours like a factory assembly line. It occurs instantaneously through direct insight and energetic transformation. That's why you can go to sleep troubled and wake up with inexplicable clarity about a situation. The collective unconscious adds another dimension to this mystery. Jung discovered that during deep sleep, individual consciousness touches something far greater than personal experience. You begin accessing what he called the shared mental ocean of humanity, a repository of universal symbols, patterns, and wisdom that transcends individual identity. In this realm, you might dream of places you've never seen, understand languages you don't speak, or encounter archetypal figures that feel deeply familiar despite being completely foreign to your personal history. These experiences don't come from your individual timeline because they exist outside time altogether. They represent eternal truths about human nature that have remained constant across cultures and centuries. This is why certain dreams feel ancient and prophetic simultaneously. They're tapping into patterns that existed before you were born and will continue after you die. The collective unconscious doesn't evolve or develop. It simply is, and during sleep, you temporarily merge with this timeless dimension of shared human experience. Your soul, Jung suggested, uses sleep as an opportunity to engage in essential work that can't happen during waking hours. While your body rests, your deeper being travels through inner landscapes, processing emotions, healing psychological wounds, and integrating new understanding. This isn't metaphorical. Jung believed in the literal reality of soul travel during sleep, though he understood it as movement through psychological rather than physical space. The absence of temporal constraints allows this inner work to happen with remarkable efficiency. Your soul doesn't need to move through healing step by step. It can access the core of an issue and transform it instantly. This explains why sometimes a single night's sleep can provide more healing than months of conscious effort. Dreams serve as the primary communication system between your conscious and unconscious minds, and they operate according to entirely different rules than waking thought. Linear thinking requires temporal sequence. First, this happens, then that happens, leading to a logical conclusion. But dreams present complete meanings all at once through symbolic language that bypasses the need for step-by-step explanation. A single dream image can simultaneously represent your past trauma, your current struggle, your hidden potential, and your path forward. This isn't because the dream is compressed, but because the unconscious doesn't recognize these as separate elements requiring sequential processing. They're all aspects of one living truth about your psychological reality. Jung discovered that the deepest phases of sleep bring consciousness into contact with what he called the raw code of reality. In these moments, you're no longer experiencing yourself as separate from existence. The boundaries between self and cosmos dissolve, and you touch the fundamental nature of being itself. This is why even brief periods of deep sleep can produce profound transformation. Time stops because you've returned to the source from which time emerges. You're no longer riding the wave of duration but resting in the eternal stillness that underlies all movement. This contact with timeless being refreshes and renews you in ways that mere physical rest cannot achieve. Understanding unconscious timelessness transforms how you approach sleep itself. Instead of seeing it as lost time or temporary unconsciousness, you can recognize it as your nightly return to the deepest layers of wisdom and healing that exist within you. If this exploration of Jung's insights into unconscious timelessness has opened new perspectives for you, let me know by commenting "timeless" below. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the mysteries of consciousness and the unconscious mind, make sure to watch the next video where we'll explore even more profound aspects of Jung's revolutionary psychology.